Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of Stuck in the Middle. This week we got together, we recorded like 5 hours of tracks. So what we're going to do is we're going to split that up into a few episodes. So over the next couple of weeks, it'll almost be like a series of episodes. So if you're interested in the first week, you better tune into the next week. All right, thanks guys. Hope you enjoy listening.
So tell me how was Squire's visit? What'd you guys get into?
Pretty good. We got pretty fucking drunk.
Yeah.
We're going to do a podcast.
I thought you were going to do an episode, man.
We were, but we got wasted, and at like 2 a.m, we walked over here, and we're like, fuck.
Decided not to go to the facility.
No, we just fucking forgot about it. I mean, we looked at it.
You checked it all out? Did you guys do levels and everything?
No, we didn't even fucking open the computer, man. We sat at the table, fucking drank beer,
just kept bullshitting.
Johnny Walker gets the best of you, man.
Yeah?
It really does.
It really will do that.
You break out the Johnny Walker, and you're settled in for the night. You're going to get fucked up.
Rick's got a
used fucking car lot is what he's got.
Oh, okay.
He's got a fucking BMW 550 car. I think it's a 550. He just got a BMW X6 M6, I think it's called. He's got I said the GOAT. He's got a Buick.
Dude, that M6, I saw a picture of it. It fucking looks badass. I don't care. It does. Maybe you can carry a lot of groceries in it. That's fine. It also does other things well as well.
It's got a twin
it's
turbo
fast.
fucking V8.
It's got a twin. Yeah, right. Exactly. It does other things too.
I just bust his balls because you always see soccer moms, like the uppity rich soccer moms driving BMWs.
Yeah, right.
So I call it his soccer mom sports car. But he said it would beat a Porsche Cayenne.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think the Cayenne, I think that's the fucking SUV like crossover that Porsche has too.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy because all Porsches look exactly the fucking same.
Yes, they do.
And it's just like, if you took a fucking car and stretched it into an SUV, this is what it would be. And, I mean, I don't know. They're pretty fast, but that's crazy. I believe that the M5?
I think his is an M6.
M6, yeah. The BMWs are usually faster than...
Yeah, I'm not real keen on international cars or non-domestic cars. I only know, and I don't even really know that much about domestic cars, to be honest, too. I don't know much about cars in general. I mean, I know.
Like those 95 SS Impalas, though. I saw your post.
Those, yeah.
So that's the dream, huh?
Yeah.
You want one with like blacked out windows? What's your vision for it? It's not factory, right? Like it's got some things done.
I'm gonna need two. I'm gonna need one that's factory.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna murder out one.
Murder one out. Put some supercharger on there.
Yeah, absolutely. They might be supercharged, man.
Really? In '95 they were doing that? On the
I know
Cruises?
it's got the Corvette motor in the LS1, I believe.
I
They're
think
not
you're right.
supercharged.
No.
But that would be bad as fuck.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that's a badass motor already. I had a 98 GTP that was supercharged.
Yeah?
3.8 V6.
Huh.
I mean, it wasn't...
It's funny because, like, they were putting them in, like, big diesel trucks, like, long before I was ever aware of the concept of, like, a turbo. You know what I mean? Like, eventually they became cool in, like, the aftermarket cars. Like, once, like, Fast and Furious was a thing, like, I... became aware of them in other aspects, but they were been around for, like you were saying, probably a decade before that in like big diesel trucks to like boost the torque and you know what I mean, the high end torque and shit.
Well, they made a car.
It's probably not actually that's probably not what it boosts, but
in the 70s or the 80s, it was called a Buick Grand National, and it had I want to say EcoBoost because that's what Ford calls theirs, but it had a turbo. It was a turbo V6, dude, and it was a monster.
Really.
So I mean, they knew about the performance of a turbo back then, but now all of a sudden everything's got it.
Turn my volume up a little bit. Yeah, it is crazy. And I think that comes a lot from like the government pushing on the MPGs, right?
Yeah, emissions too.
And it's people that are against like the big government or whatever, but it's a good thing. Like there would be no motivation for these car companies to improve in that aspect if it weren't for the government pushing them. And it's crazy also how much power one state has in this thing, because California is such a large market that all the cars across the United States meet California standards. Yeah. And so they, as one state, have the ability to essentially enforce these regulations across the country because no car company wants to deal with making specific ones just for California. So they just make a U.S. one that meets that state's guidelines.
They're very serious about that shit, too, because, like, whenever I'm delivering freight that comes out of California, we have, like, a delivery receipt that has address, what it is, information like phone number, what company it's going to, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If it comes out of California, it even says on all of our delivery receipts that it meets or exceeds California regulations.
Speculation. Yeah, right.
So it had to been pulled. Like all the new diesel semi-trucks have DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid. I don't know the specifics of it, but some sort of fluid that runs through the exhaust system that cleans up the exhaust before it goes out into the universe. So, but like California was pushing that really hard before anybody else.
Yeah.
Now it's like a regulation.
Yeah, it becomes a normal thing.
The funny thing that kills.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I shouldn't say it kills me, but it weirds me out is the fact that California is like the most polluted state in the nation, and now all of a sudden they're the ones that are so worried about.
Well, that's because that's why they're the most concerned about it. Because
but maybe you should have been concerned about it fucking 40 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure they should have been, but those fucking people didn't know. They were like literally at that point in history, were dumping sludge and waste and just whatever the fuck they wanted to into the rivers, and just thinking like, oh well, this will just go away over time. We'll just don't think about it, and it won't be a problem.
This is a subject that brings out the tinfoil hat on me because. I don't know if you remember. You can watch videos of it now, but there was a guy like back in the 80s or the 70s or 80s that created a fucking car that runs on water. I mean, everybody hears about that. Everybody knows that story.
No, I don't know. I don't know that I saw that, to be honest. Like a hydrogen car is what you're saying?
No, water. Legitimately water. Poured water in this car and it ran. And then the government bought
the patent for it.
I've not done a lot of research on this. I've seen videos of it. Yes.
So this is very well might be like a slanted perspective on the topic, but for whatever reason, this is this was the you know what I mean. What you saw, I got you right.
A researched.
This guy presented it as a research topic,
but I mean it's a known story. Like, I mean you haven't heard it, but like it's kind of like one of those things you always hear when you're as a kid growing up. You know what I mean? Like.
But I'm sure that there are different like versions of it. You know what I mean? Like there's this guy has this conspiracy theory version, which very well might be accurate and documented. But there's also a version of it out there that's the government's version that is, you know what I mean?
Well, and the thing about it
is
is
controversial.
Like you can't even deny that though because you look at like Tesla and Edison. I think it's Edison. Tesla and Edison, right?
Yeah.
Tesla, essentially invented the what do they call it? Like the ability to get electric out or what have you.
Yeah.
To like households. And then, but Tesla was more worried about people more so than profit. So then, Edison,
Edison capitalized
so
on
shit
it.
like that happens in our society and it's evident in the public eye. So, I mean,
absolutely.
It's not that unbelievable and it's pretty plausible that somebody could come up with a car that ran on, an alternate fuel that was very cheap and reliable.
Right.
And the government would come in and swoop up that because, and just like the NRA.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I would say the government, but there's definitely entities out there. Like you would say, like all of the industry involved in fossil fuel and oil and the creation of all of that would hold a vested interest in that technology not spreading and becoming widely accepted. So, yes, I could absolutely believe that they would buy those patents.
Yeah.
And I think that historically, if you look back, that happened. I think that there was like electric cars, even in like way back in like the 40s and 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And
big oil bought the patents and squashed them and filed them away and just paid off these people $10 million. And that's how it happens. And gradually, that's how the first wave goes. But then the second wave maybe grabs a little bit more traction, and the third wave grabs a little bit more traction, and then eventually we get to a point where there's a person like Elon Musk in this particular industry we're talking about, who doesn't give a fuck about the old money. He's like, I'm going to do this,
and let's fucking do it.
Yeah, and I will take the risk involved in making this the next big thing.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to let you buy me out.
And that's all. As much as that is a positive for capitalism, it's also a negative for capitalism because you have the ability to go in and buy out those patents,
right,
and keep that from coming to market.
Well, you could say that that's a bad thing about capitalism, but I think honestly, in the big picture, capitalism's biggest benefit is that it's a safeguard. Like, it's the capitalism ideology. It's this conservative ideology to keep with the old steadfast industries that we've already seen succeed, that we've already seen profitable and are consistent and are safe.
Yeah.
It's in our best interest to allow them to continue to succeed, which is what those oil tycoons would have told you. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they would have justified it.
Yeah.
And we're going to buy out these patents because this is a new, unfamiliar technology. No one knows if it's consistent enough to replace it. Maybe it's more dangerous. We'll just go ahead and they're going to buy it. And then...
So they're kind of like doing a public service in a way.
In their own minds, right.
Well, I mean, technically they kind of are, because they're keeping somebody from bringing a product to the people without the, the required testing.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, maybe those people would have been willing to go through the required testing, but it's almost just like a byproduct of it. It's like a non-intentional consequence of like this selfish, in my mind, motivations.
Yeah.
They're trying to squash the new industries, but the byproduct of them doing so forces the industries to be well-founded before they actually succeed. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be someone like Musk who has all this money to dump into it.
Yeah, to back.
Who's sure that he can make it go. It's not a wavering idea by this point. It's an absolute that it's going to be replaced eventually.
It's kind of like modern day Apple versus Android.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Apple, if you want to submit an app to Apple, you have to go through a rigorous, process to get your app put on to the App Store. Whereas Android just lets anybody. I mean, I don't know if they let anybody, but the process is a lot easier to get your app onto an app store.
No, it is essentially anybody.
So, and that's,
you could just have to submit it. It goes through the thing.
Personally, that's the reason why I like Android, because you get a plethora of different, apps.
Right, yeah. And that's the fundamental outlook. It's crazy how they talk about, and even I find big problems with the two-party system in our country. Like, I think that doesn't lend itself well to democracy, and it's not doing us any service to just be stonewalled into these two categories. However, it's funny also how at the same time when any of these new categories, any of these new ideas, any of these new topics come up, there's this very logical like progression of the already established ideology to accept one side or the other of this new topic. And so, like, there's a conservative viewpoint of, like, electric cars or, I mean, whatever it was that, you know what I mean? We were talking about, there's a new idea and it's already preformed that there's going to be people that feel this way about it.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that they also agree on all these other things as well.
Yeah, usually. They're closed-minded about it. Like, they won't accept the new idea because they have their own ideas already.
Even if, I mean, that's the negative way to put it. Absolutely.
I'm a pessimist.
And whenever I'm being an asshole, that's how I try to frame it too. But the other, like the positive aspect and the positive thing that brings to society is that it's a hesitant outlook. It's a, I hear you, but I'm not going to be the first people on the board of the Titanic. You know what I mean? It's this cautious, you know what I mean? Hesitant, I guess, keep coming back to.
Instead of saying YOLO and going right for it.
Right. Fuck it. Let's try it. And I get how.
Hold my beer, watch this,
Yeah. The fuck it. Right. Yeah. And that's funny too, because that's the exact same mentality. And that's a fucking meme that's made to like disparage the conservative ideology. Yeah. But at the same time, that's the liberal outlook on a lot of these new ideas, like healthcare healthcare not necessarily, because that's something that's been
I get
already
where you're going with that though.
Like
established
in other countries, right. But like the universal basic income or like Portugal and the drug policy to legalize all of that. That's a liberal thing too. Like, fuck it, hold my beer, man. Let's see how it goes. Let's roll the dice. I believe that it's going to work, but it's absolutely a gamble to do so.
That's the thing.
I get that.
But like you said, though, and that's what baffles my mind is because in the United States, the capitalist United States, monopolies are supposed to be illegal. Like, you're not supposed to be able to monopolize things.
Right.
But it happens every fucking day. Like the two-party system. That's almost a monopoly on the political system.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, is it not really? I mean, because you have two choices. That's it. I mean, and obviously everybody's going to say, oh, well, you could vote independent. But as we all know...
You're throwing it away, right? I mean, you're not really accomplishing anything.
I told you
you're making a stance, and I mean, I understand the thought behind it.
Yeah.
But in reality,
you're just giving somebody else a vote, pretty
Right.
much. Which really sucks, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
that's the whole problem with it.
yeah, and I feel like even I know like you and I disagree on a lot of things, but I feel like we could both of us would end up voting for an independent at some point in time.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they align a lot with like some of our bigger issues, like, you know, and obviously that's
If you take the 5 biggest issues out of it, whatever you want to pick them as,
Abortion, gun
abortion,
control.
gun, right? Like the war on drugs, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, the 5 biggest issues out of it, I bet you 95% of people in this country agree
are independent. Or
about an
For-
ideology
yeah,
or a problem or whatever. Like,
Absolutely.
they agree about what the problem is. It's just these fine-tuned details that we have such a problem agreeing on. And it's like, yeah, kids getting shot in school, man, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do something.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing, man.
But what do we do is it's these...
yeah, it's when you get to the fine line.
the last 10% of the plan or the problem or the whatever.
When you get
that
into the fucking integral part of
The
the plan.
details,
Yeah,
yeah.
the details. I mean, because like everybody agrees you don't want kids shot.
Right.
Everybody agrees you don't want dead babies. Everybody agrees, you know. That's the thing about it, man, is we all agree, really. We all really
Yeah.
do agree.
I've gotten in that argument with people about abortions before. Like, somebody's like, take that hardline stance, like the left like loves abortions, they love dead babies or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
no, man, fuck that. The left, that's why they advocate for birth control, for fucking sex education, for all of these things, so that abortions are limited as much as humanly fucking possible. Like, we don't want, nobody wants that to
yeah.
be the outcome. Nobody does. But there are absolutely a good percentage of people who want that to be an option if necessary.
And I can honestly see, like, and I see where you're going with that too, is kind of like the argument that the left uses where, okay, I'm going to say this point, but then I'm going to jump on another one right after this because
Go ahead.
I don't want to change the subject quite yet. But where the left always says, if you don't allow abortions, they're going to find a way to do it anyways, and it's going to be brutal. You know, it's going to be not. You're going to harm more people than you will.
You're criminalizing behavior.
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah, I get that's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to find a way to do it. It's not going to be in a clean doctor's office.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, it's going to be disgusting.
Sanitary, yeah.
So you're going to harm people too. And I
Back
understand
alley
that.
abortion.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. And I've told you before, abortions are not something that I'm like set in stone on. I don't agree with them, you know, for the most part. But
haphazardly. I heard a story
Yeah.
the other day about some chick that had 6 in 2 years.
Wow.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, see,
get
that's
the
insane.
fuck out of here. Like, if you're at that point where it's like you're clearly
That's
fucking
birth
abusing
control.
the system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're using it as birth control.
Fuck that. No one. You're a moron because there's cheaper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's
Use a condom.
no logic in
What are they,
any
like,
of that.
fucking $3 for
and
a
it's-
buck?
That's clearly abuse of the fucking system.
Yeah. And that can't even be good on her body either, though. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like,
In that aspect, even like the doctors
yeah.
that are performing them, but that's a fucking small percentage of the people.
Oh,
that get
yeah,
those
absolutely,
fucking
for
things.
sure.
Like, that's minuscule. There's not this wave of people. That's when you get into that
Yeah.
fucking far out there Fox News perspective, where there's just this like rash of people, and it's becoming a trend that like all the girls in college at the sorority, like they
Yeah.
just. That's
fucking
their
dude
use.
every night, and then
They've got abortion Tuesdays where they just all go together.
Yeah.
Like whoever
Yeah,
happens
like a
to be
fucking
pregnant that week.
cookie jar full of Plan B. you
Right?
know,
Yeah.
That. Go ahead.
It absolutely is a problem, and the problem cases absolutely should have some kind of consequences to go with them. However, the response that we get from the right wing in this country to vastly limit the access, and I absolutely know where you're going to this.
I'm so glad that you said the right wing because
and
I said
then
earlier
vastly
about-
limit the access.
But
Go ahead.
I think you
we're
think I've
talking
gone
about
somewhere
guns,
else.
but
no. What I'm gonna say is because I didn't want to change the subject earlier in the middle of it, but I feel like we said a lot about that, so I can kind of do this now. But we've got to stop saying the left and the right. We've got to stop like saying there's such a difference between us because that's where this radicalism is coming from. The alt-right, the alt-left, the far left. Dude, just because you're on the left doesn't mean you don't like guns. Just because I'm on the right doesn't mean I don't like gays.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we got to stop doing that, man. We're the human race. We can multitask and we can have different views on
it
different
is,
things.
and you're right. But man, like I was saying earlier about there was something that I came back to. It was a new topic. It was something that was brand new. And it was so clearly that like outlined that certain people would have a certain take on this topic. And there is something to that. The idea of like that outlook on the world and your ideology, like aligning your point of view on two completely unrelated topics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't you think that's like a product of what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, so I'm a Republican, so I have to agree with what my Republican brothers and sisters say. Otherwise, you know what? And this goes back.
I hope so.
Yeah, I really do too. Because, and I tell you this all the time, and you know as well as I do because we argue on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, right.
Everybody calls me.
We're familiar with each other's.
Yeah. Everybody calls me a right wing Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't give a fuck about Republicans or Democrats or right wing, left wing. I'm me, and I have
that chart thing I shared the other day was pretty good. I think you like that.
But like, I feel the way I feel about certain things, man. I mean, it doesn't.
And that's how you should fucking be. That's why I appreciate your fucking.
Yeah, man. This identity politics is fucking ruining America. It really is, man. You can be a fucking liberal and not agree with homosexual marriage. I mean, I'm not saying that's okay, but I'm saying you can be.
It's a possibility, yeah. But I don't think that there's very many of those people out there.
No, you're right, and that's why the fucking third party's kind of throwing away your vote.
Yeah, right, and that's
like,
the weird thing about it is that it does naturally lend itself to this behavior, and that's why it's so hard for us as a country to get away from it. Like. Dude, that's what makes it so difficult.
I feel like ever since I started listening to Joe Rogan, I can't get away from this word, but it's so fitting right now. It's fucking tribalism.
Yeah.
You gotta
it really
stick
is.
with your fucking clique. But you don't, man.
And as far as we can get away from that, the better, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, for both tribes.
Yeah, we're not fucking hunter-gatherers anymore, man. We're not going out and fucking hunting for food and have to fucking...
Even the most hunter-gatherers amongst us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Goes out 3 weekends a year and hunts an animal and then... like makes that into some food that they eat on the weekends. Maybe they grill up some burgers and make some jerky. That's not their primary source of fucking nutrition anymore. Like,
but even that fucking guy can have different opinions that align different fucking ways. You know what I mean? Like, that bothers the fuck out of me, man. Like the tribalism of the fucking political parties. You don't have to be that way.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely.
Like, and I told you, like, the main reason I voted for Trump was because of the Second Amendment. That's, like, the issue that I, feel the most strongly about. Without getting into it deeply, because we already did that once.
Yeah, right. But no.
So that's why I voted for him, because I feel like that, in my eyes, that's the most important issue for me.
Right.
Now, for you,
yeah,
I don't know
a whole plethora of other...
We talked about that. But, just because you vote one way doesn't mean, that you side with everything that fucking person says.
Right. And that's the shitty part about it too, man. Like, when we narrow it down to one person, and I think we kind of talked about this earlier before we hit record, but, like, the president has the most power of any elected official. Yeah. Like, it's not unlimited power. It's not like he's the fucking king. He can't do whatever the fuck he wants. And... thank God, man. Like, I was really fucking worried there for a fucking year, for the first 6 months, that first year of this presidency. Like, the shit he was saying, the things that I think he would have done had he been able to get away with it. Thank God or whoever, or
well, like you said,
Washington for like the judicial checks. Like, we've got a really good fucking system going here.
The way you like to say it, the checks and balances, the democracy.
Right, and it toned everything down, and I mean now I see it much more. I mean it's a bummer, and I think that we need to push to get him out as soon as possible.
See, the thing
through whatever legal means we can, but it's not going to be the end of the world. I don't think that.
I think he helps.
He's ending democracy as we know it.
I think the anti-establishment part of him helps you out with that, though. Like, we're seeing the power of democracy for sure, but we're also seeing a guy that's never been a politician ever in office that doesn't necessarily know the ins and outs. Now,
well, in the grand scheme of things, I appreciate his attempts to check those. And he's very much making sure he's an asshole way to put it. He's a child testing boundaries. Yeah. But the result of him doing so is allowing all of us to see in action, like, the checks and balances of democracy working. Like, he's pushing out, he's making these outlandish statements about these shithole countries and limiting immigration and getting shut down in the courts. But some of his stuff is getting through here and there, and he's testing the limits of where.
But it's stuff that's not
we can go
fucking crazy. You know, it's normal.
Right.
Stuff.
By the time it eventually gets through, it's watered down, and and that is the democracy in work. In action. Right.
On the flip side of that, though, like I feel like, had Hillary got in, it would be a completely different story, though, because she's been in this life her whole life. She's been in that fucking office. You know, she wasn't the president, but she was sat beside her husband, so she knows how the system works.
Yeah.
So I feel like she could have slid by the power of democracy, for lack of a better way to put it. But you know what I mean? Like, she knows the shortcuts, the loopholes.
She does. And I agree with everything you're saying. But at the same time, her agenda was much less radical. She wasn't running on the platform of free healthcare for everyone and free abortions for all. And she was not the Donald Trump of the left by any means.
No, but that's because she's been in the system, so she knows not to come out there and say all the bullshit that he.
But I don't think she ever had any interest in doing any of those drastic changes anyway. I think she would have just been status quo. It would have been bullshit. We would have seen people enrich themselves off of our democracy, just like we've been seeing for the last 30 fucking years. It would have been disgusting, but it wouldn't have been detrimental to our democracy as a whole.
The little bit of optimist in me agrees with you. But then there's the part of me that thinks, like I said, she just...
Deep state.
Yeah, she just says what she says to get the votes. And then she comes... I'm not saying she goes fucking insane and, like,
right, I mean, what would
she... The world.
What, like, worst case in your mind right now, where do you imagine the U.S. would be had Hillary gotten elected? Like, we would have, I think, kept going to status quo. I doubt we would have... She would have instituted FEMA camps. Like, it wouldn't have been anything like that.
Yeah.
I think that, like, the school shooting stuff, we would have gotten more traction towards these liberal ideas, but I don't think that we would have seen drastically more of them being passed than we're going to see now. Fuck, Trump took a very liberal fucking point of view. So
fucker.
I can't... That's a very good thing to start with there. I can't imagine Hillary's opening negotiating points would have been nearly as liberal as Donald's would have been as a response to the shooting in Parkland. I think that Hillary's options, when she had her meeting and came to the table and said, all right, Republicans, this is what we need to do, I think her measures would have been more conservative than what we saw from Trump.
And I would probably agree with you. And that's the thing about
just to not rock the boat, because she knows that that's a touchy issue. You know what I mean? From her history in politics, like she knows that that's a thing that they don't want to touch, and you know what I mean, to stay off of that. So she would have gone very, in my opinion, conservative on that issue.
That's what I was going somewhere else with that, but that's what kind of scared me.
I'm gonna make another drink.
Okay, have at it. I'm gonna keep going. But that's what kind of scared me was, like, with her. She wasn't necessarily a fucking, like, Democrat liberal, you know what I mean? Like, she's been caught on film coming out against gay marriage, saying that marriage should be between a man and a woman and nothing more. So like, I feel like she's not even really a liberal or not even necessarily a Democrat. Like, they're more so the Clintons themselves. They're fucking Republicans, really, if you think about it, because they're fucking big business, man.
Yeah,
where do they get all their money?
Neoliberalism. It's this pro-big business, Wall Street, pro-capitalism liberal, which is really the shittiest aspects of both fucking parties, if you ask me. Like, I don't have any sympathy, lost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard feelings for Hillary Clinton not getting elected. But,
well, you've told me several times you didn't really fucking like her either. You just didn't really like him at all.
I just can't. I just wouldn't have went to him to be the savior, man.
That's what
I think we need one, but I don't think it's him. I would have hard pass.
Donald Trump. That's what I was saying is, like, what scared me about her is, like, okay, obviously we know what we've been doing hasn't been working. I mean, don't get me wrong, America's still the greatest fucking country in the world. It's still, the safest time to live.
Yeah.
But
all those things.
Status quo obviously wasn't working. I mean, it's getting us by is what it's doing. You know what I mean? And I think that's why a majority of people voted for Trump, because they thought maybe he would come in and stir things up.
Farther. Yeah, it's a slow road to hell. Like, I mean, it's
like smoke
passing by, but it's not doing us any good.
Rather than driving like an asshole, which is going to kill me now, it's smoking a cigarette where I'm going to die in 40 fucking years.
Right.
If you're lucky.
Exactly. That's the fucking...
But, you know, and that's what scared me about her was like, she knows the system, so she may, you know, just be playing the status quo in our face. But then whenever she's behind the scenes, she's playing all the cards she knows how to play because she's a lifelong fucking politician. And what do we know about politicians, man? They're fucking corrupt. They are out there for themselves, and whatever they tell you is a fucking lie. And that's, you know, that's another reason why a lot of people did like Trump and voted for Trump was because he fucking tells you how he feels. He says what he thinks. Even if you don't agree with it, and it might be something dumb, it might be something fucking crazy, and you might sound like a lunatic, but he tells you. Whereas the rest of these guys, they may have those fucking thoughts in the back of their head, but they're not going to fucking tell you they have those thoughts. So they get fucking elected, and then next thing you know, they're fucking going against everything they fucking said, or everything you agreed with them on, and now you're stuck with a fucking lifelong politician that's doing the same exact fucking thing that every other politician does. Now, I mean, compared to what some of Trump said, that doesn't sound so bad. But like you said, it's a slow road to fucking hell is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the, I don't know. I think a really good example for the whole thing on the grand scheme, big picture is like the shithole countries comment. Yeah. Like, Trump, as a response to the backlash, thought that everyone was mad that he said the S word, like that he said the word shit. But nobody was mad about the cursing. Like, that was all the response. Like, oh, CNN blasts the word shit all over public access television for 24 hours as a response. Trump said it one time. It wasn't that he cursed. Like, and it's just this, like, it's that black and white outlook on the world. Like, it's not that he said a curse. He didn't say a bad word. It's that he described this country and all of the people living in it as less than, and that we should limit their immigration when compared to other countries in which he preferred.
So, like, he's the leader of the fucking free world. You can't put that kind of shit out in the public when you're the leader of the free world. You know what I mean? Like, countries don't want to see the fucking greatest country in the world calling them a shithole. They want to fucking see you, you know, figuring out ways to help them. Because regardless of what anybody wants us to be, we are the fucking world police. We're the fucking superpower, man. We're the best country in the world. We got one of the best militaries. Unfortunately,
we definitely have the best military. I agree with you there.
That's an obligation, man. Like, I don't give a shit. I love America, man. Everybody knows I'm a fucking straight up fucking red-blooded fucking American. But
yeah, right.
We are fucking all humans, man. We have to watch out for one another because guess what? We have one fucking planet. We haven't figured out how to live on Mars yet. So let's figure out how to fucking coincide here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And like, if that... Okay. I don't agree with him saying... I mean, I agree with what he said. But he shouldn't have said it because, like I said, he's the leader of the free world.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not saying like I'm going to be moving to Africa tomorrow. There are absolutely amazing. Like, they have big cities. Like down the Ivory Coast, there are countries that are populated in first world areas in Africa.
Like South Africa is a pretty predominant area.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, to address an entire continent as a shithole, to group it all together, that's the first
Idiotic,
part.
For sure.
Because it's like, it's so uninformed. Like, I mean, there are very nice areas where you would love to live. Like, he would like to build a fucking golf course in, had he ever been there. Yeah. But he doesn't even acknowledge that those areas exist. Yeah. So, like, that's, you know what I mean? That's your first strike. But then, to take it a little bit further, and then to think that, like, the people are less than that are coming from there, like, oh, we should limit their access to our great country because they're just going to sponge off of us, when in reality, it's the people that come from the worst places that come here and work the hardest. Like, that's been true throughout history.
From the fucking bottom to,
since it was the Irish that were coming here to escape all of their bullshit. Like, it's these immigrants, it's the people who come from the worst conditions that make America, that essentially prop us up, and make us this hardworking industrial nation. And to pretend that it's a naive point of view to pretend that, like, because for a certain period in time it was the white people that were doing that. To think that we've seen influxes from other areas that follow the exact same progression. And I mean, with the exception of black people, because of the slavery thing, I think throws a fucking wrench in that whole assimilation thing. But all of our other groups, like the Italians come in, and for a while they face the same racist, dumb, tribalist bullshit. You know what I mean? They have this these weird customs from this country that they came from, and nobody really likes them. They talk funny. They got an accent.
They were wops,
and then their kids go to school and they learn all of the American culture, and they celebrate Serbian Christmas alongside of American Christmas, and then that next generation is 100% American and just looks slightly different. You know what I mean? That's the same progression that every single immigrant group throughout our history goes through.
True.
It's the first group that owns whatever stereotypical bullshit thing you want to say, like the Hispanics are lawn and what is it, landscaping companies, and people from India own mini marts and hotels and Slurpee shops. And they all have their own like niche that they fold into in that first generation.
Yeah.
But then eventually you get people like Aziz Ansari and the second and the third generation. By the time you get to the third generation in, they're just the same spoiled, entitled Americans that the white people are that have been living here for 300 years. Like,
I know this will probably sound insane for me to say, and you're probably your jaw's gonna hit the
drop to the floor, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna know what to say, but and I owe it a lot to Joe Rogan, because the way he puts it is tremendously fucking intelligent and makes so much fucking sense. But I've been getting really relaxed on the immigration, my stand on the immigration. Also with what Trump's doing with the National Guard, I find fucking ridiculous as fuck. But we'll talk about that after this.
Yeah.
But like,
we'll get to that.
Like Rogan puts it, man. So because you were the unlucky fucker that was born on a different plot of land.
Right, yeah. Your roll of
you're
dice.
less than me.
You're dealt, this card, this deck of cards.
Yeah. It don't work that way, man. Like, and don't get me wrong, everybody has adversity, dude. Mm-hmm. Everybody does. I don't give a fuck if you're white, brown, yellow, purple, pink. Everybody has adversity. Some people have less than others. Some people have more than others.
Right. 100%.
That's the way of life, man. But just because you were born on a different plot of land doesn't mean you're any less than anybody or any more than anybody.
Shouldn't have the same opportunities that anybody else.
But your jaw didn't hit the ground. I figured you'd be pretty surprised.
No, man. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable fucking point of view to have, to be honest with you.
But I will say, if you do
people who feel differently makes my jaw hit the ground, to be honest.
But if you do come to this country, show the respect of learning English. I mean, be bilingual, man. Perfectly fucking fine.
Well, and that's the idea of you're interacting with someone on a fucking journey here. Like, maybe they're trying to learn English. True. They're much better at fucking English than I am at Spanish, to be honest with you.
True.
Like, they're just some fucking asshole guy who's here and who's trying their best to learn the fucking language.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to interact with people on that spectrum. Like, they're not all going to be fucking pros in English. Yeah, fucking writing fucking novels when they get here. And what really pisses me off is that it's always the people who grew up in English-speaking environments, who went to English-speaking schools, who can barely fucking speak English, that are the most fucking critical of these people who are on their second language.
That burns my ass too.
I've never heard anybody who is semi-fluent in French give somebody a hard time for not speaking English very well.
That burns my ass so bad. And I call my own fucking people out, man. Even on the Second Amendment, I'll call people out.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bitch about fucking people speaking English, put some fucking commas and periods and fucking capitalize.
You're barely fucking hanging in there, dude.
Yeah, for real, dude. You're speaking Section 8 and you want to fucking comment about people not speaking
with an accent,
come on, man. Like I said, man. With everything in life, there are outliers and there are exceptions. And I think more so the wall is about those outliers and exceptions. Same with the immigration policy.
It is. I agree in its intent. It is about those outliers, but I don't think that in practice and in its application that it's going to do anything to limit those outliers. Like those most evil people that are bringing. The vast majority of people coming over the border are coming here in search for a better life. Yeah. They don't all carry guns. They aren't all here smuggling drugs.
They don't have a kilo of...
Right. Most of them just want to the opportunity to be a maid at a hotel somewhere. You know what I mean? The opportunity to stand outside of a Home Depot and get paid $6 a fucking day to help somebody do fucking lawn care. So, But there are the extreme examples. The cartel who have negative intentions one way or another, whether they're moving guns and money south of the border or they're moving drugs north of the border to be sold. But I don't think that we're going to really be doing anything to limit them with a wall. Like, that 10% is going to quickly evaluate a wall. They have the money, they have the resources, and they have the ability to deal with a fucking wall, whether it's go above it or go under it. All we're doing is being assholes to the other 98% of people who are just coming here in search of a fucking better life. And it comes from a spiteful place, man, whether you want to admit it or not. The voters, the Trump voters who vote specifically because of the wall, specifically because of immigration. It's nothing's evil. It's not coming from an evil point of view, but it's a sad, desperate, bitter point of view that life isn't working out very well for them. Yeah. And they don't want these people taking their opportunities. And it's heartbreaking, but you're here and you're not living under the daily threat of being murdered. And if we have to make more competition for your jobs to help these other people to escape these environments where their lives are literally in danger just fucking living there.
See, and that's the thing, man. I go both sides on that too. Is like with the jobs things. Like,
yeah,
you hear people
what
say,
is the other side of it?
They're taking fucking jobs that Americans don't want. Well, yes and no, because I know plenty of people that work construction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and landscaping,
fucking Americans have become very fucking lazy. Let's be fucking honest here.
We are going to demand at least $10 more an hour for the same job than you would get from
they're not going to work as hard either. Like, and obviously this is a huge generalization. Mm-hmm. But let's be fucking perfectly honest. The younger generation in this fucking country is not willing to work.
Well, that's the reality in every civilization that has ever existed ever. It's always been the younger generation grows up in an environment that has been improved in one way or the other. That. And they don't, just like we didn't work in it. Like, I didn't at 16 sign up to work summers in the steel mills.
I worked like an asshole all the time. So
I worked at fast food restaurants. Yeah. Like, I had jobs, but they weren't. I wasn't working as hard as the people from the previous generation were. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
And that happens in every generation. If it wasn't happening, that'd be a fucking problem. If we hadn't improved on it, if we hadn't made it better and easier for the 16-year-olds today than it was when we were 16, then we had failed. That's
Progress.
A failure. Right.
Progress.
Absolutely.
You used to be able to go fucking work wherever you wanted when you were fucking 13, 14 years old.
Yeah. Well,
now you got to have a work permit.
Those stingy fucking government regulations limiting the hours of 13-year-olds.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, and I understand that for sure. But, like, I see it day in and day out, man. Like, the younger generation really is fucking lazier than they used to be. But, I mean, you could blame that a lot on technology, too, though. Like, yeah. Like, why the fuck would I go out and work when I could fucking collect an unemployment check, play video games all day? You know what I mean? Or, you know, I can fill out surveys online and make $15 a day.
Right,
you know
yeah.
I mean? Like,
not even if they're not even trying to collect surveys or whatever, there's people who have YouTube channels that are making fucking household incomes.
So I'm just going to sit at home in my mom's basement and make fucking YouTube videos about how I fucking hate immigrants, and I'll make a fucking $1 million this year. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, you know what I mean? So, man, it's a double-edged sword, though. You get technology, you get laziness.
Yeah, everything in life's a trade-off. That's what I always come back to, man.
And nothing is black and white.
Yeah, it never is, man. There's always good people on both sides of every fucking argument. And that's what makes it so hard because, like, I mean, I get it, but I feel like when you come back to that ideology, it's like it's the world outlook, it's your viewpoint, and for some reason, I think that one side tends to gravitate toward the negative, like, impulses within humanity. Like, they tend to give in to the fears of, but also are afraid of other people giving into those fears of the worst aspects of society. Like, you know what I mean? You're like the rapes and the murders and all of those things. And they see these things in all these people, these, especially the groups that look differently when you get into that tribalism aspect, like, and it all just relates back. it just seems like such an inherent like evolutionary thing to like from when we were in the jungles and like these people are from another tribe and they're different and it's a very well placed. Like I understand that impulse. Like I was saying earlier about the conservatives slowing us down and saying, hey, maybe we should be a little hesitant about this idea or this new technology that's emerging. But at the same time, it slows us down so much, man. Like it's like we're dragging half of our people that are like dragging their heels.
True, but admit this, and I'll admit this too. Because this goes both ways. Conservatives need liberals. Liberals need conservatives. Because if we just had conservatives, we'd have gone fucking nowhere. If we just had liberals,
maybe we'd have blown ourselves up by now.
Yeah, I mean, like you'd be way the fuck out there.
Yeah,
it's a balance, man. Listen, I tell people all the time. I might bitch about something. I might get happy about something. Mm-hmm. Life balances itself out. It really does. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like everything's like. When I was an iron worker, it's kind of like spotty work. Uh-huh. Like you would go up to the hall, you'd find a job. You say you'd get on a bridge deck for 3 days, and then when you finish that bridge deck, you're looking for another fucking job.
Right.
So, but say that week was slow, so you only worked 3 days that week. Well, then the next week you find a fucking mill shut down, you work fucking 7 days. You see what I mean? Like, it always finds a way to balance, and it goes to simple shit like that all the way to the top of the most complex shit. It really, really fucking does, man. No, don't get me wrong, it doesn't always, you know what I mean? It doesn't always balance itself out, but it generally does.
Yeah.
For most people, most of the time, life balances itself out. Like, people get so stressed out about things.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you're saying. Like, conservatives kind of live out of fear, kind of, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know what it is exactly because it's a different motivation. It's this different push, this different...
And that goes back to the fucking hold my beer, whereas liberals are like,
let's see how it goes.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Fuck it, you know what I mean? But see, I feel like that's kind of vice versa too. Like,
yeah, and a lot of things like conservatives are the more like I don't know.
Fucking hold my beer.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's the thing about it, and that goes back to the fucking thing. Nothing is black and fucking white, man. That pisses me off more than anything when people are like, oh, well, it's this way. Listen, unless you come
it's
at me...
It's a lot of fucking ways.
Yeah. Unless you come out with me with fucking cold hard facts, okay, like flat Earth. Everybody fucking knows the Earth is round. Okay, so that's black and white.
Yeah, right.
So, but not other than things like that. Like even on the gun control debate, man, I'm not. Your views on the gun control could be right. You know what I mean? Like ban it all and fucking crime, and gun crime and gun violence stops. That could be right.
Maybe.
What I say, to not necessarily loosen up the laws, but hold on to the ones we have and enforce them, could be right. Until it happens, we don't fucking know. Like, and I know what you can say, Australia, England, blah blah blah. True, it may have worked for them.
Right, but there is the variables of population and density, and even just in culture, which you would be an idiot to ignore and to not even acknowledge. There are differences. You're right. There are differences. Yeah. It's this nuance, the gray area that we disagree on, where I think that those nuances, even though I acknowledge that they exist, I think that those are things that aren't going to be deal breakers in the big picture. And I understand that when you look at those tiny things, you think that they will be. Yeah. Like
I disagree though. I think the gray area, we don't know if we agree or disagree because we never make it to the gray area because everybody's either fucking black or white. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody. Majority. The biggest proponents of either side, which people tend to follow, because the tribalism thing once again. We don't know what the gray areas are, man, because nobody wants to compromise because everybody's right and everybody else is wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is that the reality, or I feel like we have a pretty good environment on the Facebook pages where I try to get, there's a decent amount of conservative input, like you and fucking Dathan and what's his name, Chad is always commenting and putting, you know what I mean? At least
Yeah.
adding in that aspect.
So it's not
of-
just you and all your liberal friends.
Yeah, dude, that's the fucking worst. There's no conversation that I hate more than just like a bunch of fucking people sitting around
Yeah, the
agreeing
same
with each
people.
other.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
everybody agrees on the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a like mindless social justice warrior circle jerk.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate the other
Yeah.
points of view. Like, that's why. I mean, a lot of my points of view, that's why I hold them, is because I understand that they are
Yeah.
drastically different than
That's-
what most people think.
That's why I really love Michael. I mean, he has his stance on every view. Mm-hmm. But Mike will straight up tell you, he said, here comes devil's advocate. And
Yeah.
he'll fucking argue the other side. And Mike's, like, knowledgeable, like,
That's a very important
Yeah.
thing to be able to do.
And
Like, even if you don't agree with devil's advocate, the idea that you were just thinking
need to see
about
the
it
other
and
side.
the idea that that exists,
Yeah.
and that's not, nobody is basing their opinion on this evil, like,
Yeah.
point of view, this evil position.
yeah,
Like,
everybody thinks they're right and they're good.
yeah, no one, everyone's the hero of their own story. Like,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one pictures himself the villain. Like, even fucking Hitler thought that, like, it's going to be a rough 50 years here, but we'll look back in 100 years. The history books will say how I built this beautiful world and
Yeah.
we're all so much better. He, I assure you, thought that they were going to gloss over his worst characteristics. No one pictures themselves the bad guy.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing about it, man. Is it's so subjective and truly based on opinion. Like we could both look at the same female, and you'll be super attracted to her, and I'll be like, nah, you know, it is what it is. And that's everything in life, man. Like like I said, if you have cold hard facts, obviously you're right.
Right,
I'm
right.
wrong.
Like, to fucking extend your horrible analogy for the record, but to extend that further, like, people could agree that this measurement of a bust size is the you know what I mean, the best one to have,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like you could make it a mathematical equation, and
Yeah.
you could say that a nose that's this wide, once it gets past this certain measurement, is no longer physically attractive,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. You could make it a mathematical equation, but there's a simpler form. Like, we're not doing that math whenever we
Yeah.
look at a woman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's this equation that happens instantly.
Yeah.
Like,
but even like if you do the math, that math might be right for you. It's not right for me. You know what I mean? Like,
but you could make that case like subjectively, is
Yeah,
all I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, everybody has their own opinions of it, but
Absolutely.
you could get an average of what all men think.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean, or
yeah,
what
like
all women
a
think
poll
about.
on-
Right,
Yeah.
and then get an average of that, and you can have a scientific take or a scientific
Yeah,
perspective
whereas-
on what is a very subjective subject.
yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's very
Yeah.
much like to each their own, but there are these weird little commonalities that
Yeah.
everybody agrees on.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and that's a very, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
a douchey, like, obnoxious fucking metaphor to use. Sorry.
No.
But you can take that and apply that out to everything. You know what I mean? That is your take on guns. That's your take on, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? There's
yeah,
these tiny
absolutely.
little
Opinions. And like you said, I mean,
variances in opinions, right?
and that's the thing about it is like a lot of people fail to realize like even if you have a fucking third grade level of science education, you know that every experiment, every theory, every hypothesis has variables, man, and everybody fucking ignores these variables, and
Nobody. Well,
They do.
Now this is where we're going to disagree. Who ignores the variables?
everybody.
I disagree. I think that, like in science, if there are variables that are disputable, then there are people who hold those positions and make their arguments. It's all that, like, individual. You get back to the benefits and the positives and negatives of the conservative ideology, and how we all overlap. Because even within people who are liberal, who are like dedicate themselves toward the progression of a certain field, and who have these like selfless, in quotations, like pursuits, at the end of the day, a lot of those people who adopt those pursuits also somehow end up with like great historical importance.
Yeah.
So like maybe you can say you're not trying to be rich and famous and you're trying to like explore this aspect of science in some way, but then there's a lot of people who get into that as a guise who just want to get their names in the books, who want to be history-making individuals in the same way that certain people get into politics want to do that. You know what I mean? They don't want to do what's best for Rogers. They want to use Rogers as a platform for them to find state leadership and then go national. Like,
well, when I say people ignore variables, I don't mean all the time. I don't mean everybody. What I mean is like, okay, I'll use myself as an example. Okay, I'm very stout on the gun control situation. Right. Like, I'm very pro Second Amendment. So, like, me being that pro Second Amendment might cloud my judgment to where I ignore the variables. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. Like, somebody that's super gun control. Yeah,
or gay marriage or whatever the fuck it is. So like they're going to ignore the facts. They go against.
That's where I get that from. Like, everybody ignores the variables, and I try super hard, and I do think I'm very good at that. To seeing both sides.
I'm with you. Yeah. You know what I mean? As individuals, people absolutely ignore the variables.
Not everybody.
But I'm trying. The argument that I went off on was the idea that the factual information is out there, whether people choose to acknowledge it or not. Like, if one study finds something completely ridiculous, like for instance, the vaccine thing, like there was one guy who conducted a very flawed study in the early 2000s that made a link to autism. Yeah. And he published these findings, which were immediately challenged in the scientific community and immediately debunked for flaws in his like protocol of what he was trying to, you know what I mean, the variables he was isolating to trying to prove. Yeah. And the all of the publications about the study got spread virally on the internet at a much higher rate than the studies that debunked it.
Trend of
and
people.
That started this whole wave of these anti-vaxxers. And it just builds and builds, and one dumb fuck posts this stupid story that 10 people read. And I got into an argument like this, like been 3-4 years ago, with this girl, like when I was just like starting to like fucking post political shit on Facebook about like, you can't just, when you post this kind of thing, when you reshare this, you're sharing it to 100 people, and maybe 98 of them don't give a fuck and scroll past it, but then there's 3 people that saw it that then went to work the next day, and then they told 7 people, and then maybe out of those 7 people, only 5 of them thought that they were a crazy asshole, but 2 of them were like, well, I haven't heard anything that can bat that information, so then they adopt that as their position on vaccines.
Don't do the research.
Yeah, they just go with it, and that is the.
It's like the fucking the celebrities that fucking die on Facebook all the time.
Oh yeah, like Morgan Freeman is announced dead, and then it spreads, and then like it takes a week for everybody to realize he didn't actually die because that news doesn't spread nearly as quickly.
It goes back to the fucking laziness, man.
Yeah.
Like, every time I see that somebody died online, first thing I do is go to Google, man. Google that shit because, you know, I'm not gonna fucking repost.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And just for the sake of our own like insanity, I don't understand how people can't do that. It's a 2-second Google search.
Lazy.
Morgan Freeman dead. Like, is he actually dead or not? Because if you Google that, like, and that's been a trend on Twitter, the first thing you're coming up with is Morgan Freeman dead hoax, and then you know not to share it. Like,
it's fucking easy as hell.
I don't know if it's old people. Like, I mean, my mom,
not,
you know what I mean?
Man.
Like, not her specifically. Like, they are more gullible to that kind of thing. But I do see so many people our age that just
or younger. Like, like, you've grown up with the internet. You know how to use it.
Yeah, you should know better, man.
What are you doing?
What is you doing?
That's what fucking it drives me insane, man. And that goes back to the fucking laziness. Like,
dude, I see the local chainmail things often, and not often, every 6 months or so I'll see one where it'll be like the real local ones are the scariest because people should know better.
Yeah.
But it's that local thing that gets them. It'll be like there were 3 teenagers at the mall in Steubenville that slashed someone's ankles as they were starting to get in the car and then robbed them and stole their vehicle. And you'll Google it and it'll be like, this is a hoax from 1997 that has been proliferated throughout communities. And it's just some asshole saw it and posted it. Yeah. And then it got shared 6 times to these people. I saw one today. It was about kids being abducted at the Walmart in Calcutta. Like, you know.
That's what, like, you always see these people that, like, post a picture. The best example I can tell you is, like, they'll post a picture of a girl with, like, a bunch of black eyes and cuts all over her face and shit. And then they'll post a picture of the supposed abuser that's her boyfriend. And I never fucking share those things. Because, dude, you don't know if that's bullshit. And then you're reposting this shit.
Yeah, right.
Like, unless it's from a police station website, you know, Facebook or whatever, I don't repost it because
at the very least, and even still, yeah, right, yeah, even still, I feel like that's premature. You know what I mean? Until you're convicted, just because you're suspected at the police station, but that's one. You know what I mean? At least some level of appreciation for the fact that people can just post bullshit online. Well, like maybe this is her stepdad who's a fucking alcoholic and he made this fucking post because she broke curfew 3 nights in a row and you don't know what you're fucking sharing.
Don't fucking repost it unless you know for sure, man.
Or it's from somebody who you're sure
like
has
the police or the FBI.
Yeah,
or, you know.
right. And when we get into our fucking bullshit arguments about your sources, like
the White Knight.
Yeah, like that, and that's what I mean. Like you're at a certain level, you could just be sharing a blog post ran by some fucking asshole that typed up some shit in his mom's basement who has no political or no even scientific background or understanding of whatever the fuck we're even talking about.
And don't get me wrong, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
We've all done it, like, you know, a late night, you see a fucking something, you're like, holy fuck, no way. That's crazy. Repost. You know what I mean? It happens. But when you're doing it fucking 5-6 times a fucking day, or, you know, you continuously do it and people call you on your bullshit and you still fucking do it.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on, man.
Well, and there's if you're just posting it to, like, because you want to come back to it later to read it, or, like, something like that.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, you do that sometimes. But, like, that's a whole different thing than, do you see, this is what these liberals have been doing to us.
But I make sure...
Did you see that fucking post a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago about fucking... Somebody posted a meme from hotdogsandguns.com. That was a response.
Yeah, I seen that, dude. Because is that the one I comment and said, is it as bad as the White Knight or nah? Was that the one I did?
No, that was something else.
Oh, that was ilovetoyota.com.
Yeah.
And it was a political post.
Yeah, on that fucking Millennials for Revolution. I share their shit all the fucking time.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, most of the time it's all right. But... Like, really? Nobody's checking that what's clearly a clickbait website in their fucking
That's what I'm saying, dude. Everybody can get duped at some point in time, you know? Like, and that goes back to, like, the whole subjective and opinion thing. Like, going back to the people posting, like, people that are abusing or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or, like, you'll see one that will say, like, well, I seen this guy, and it'll be a picture of his van with his license plate. And I seen this guy sitting outside my house. He was looking at my kids.
I saw a thing that was
maybe he was looking at your pretty fucking petunias behind the kids. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's a fucking botanist and he fucking appreciates flowers. You know what I mean? Like
there's a million reasons. That was what I saw this week. Was that someone had followed this school bus home and recorded. The kids had reported that they were recording what was going on, and they thought it was like some
creep pedophile.
Yeah, right. Like sales catalog for a pedophile website or something. Like pick out your kid because we're going to be following this bus route or something. I don't know how it was framed, but it could have been infinite things. It could have been from somebody from the county surveying the fucking road,
or like an insurance company for the fucking bus company.
Yeah, right.
Or the fucking bus driver did something fucking stupid.
But some dumb fucking asshole's kid who's 7 years old told him this and made a Facebook status, and now 20 people have shared it, and now there's a child pornography ring in Rogers, Ohio.
And now this guy's fucking known as the guy taking little kids.
Some asshole, right?
That's the thing about it, man. You got to do your fucking research, man. Like, I don't care what it's about. Do your fucking... If it's the simplest fucking thing.
Yeah, man.
Like, listen, I work a lot. I got a fucking family. I don't have a lot of fucking time.
Is it lazy? Do you think that's what it is? Like, these just people are just like, I don't give a fuck.
I mean, that's part
Or do you think
of
they don't understand?
I I don't know, man. I find it so hard to believe that people don't understand because it's fucking 2007 or 18, and you've had internet for fucking what 20 years now.
Yeah, people our age grew up with it.
Yeah, like you got to know how to fucking use it, man. Like I'm pretty. I don't know what the statistic is. If we had a Jamie, we would know. But I would say at least 95% of households have a fucking computer or internet.
Some kind of internet connection, even if it's just by cell phone.
Well, I mean, you
tablet.
have to if you're reposting shit anyways. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Google is it's so fucking easy. Like, and like I said, we're all guilty of it. I've posted shit that was incorrect. But at least if you do that, come back and say, hey, or like you said, when I repost something to read, I post on there, hey, just posting this to read. I haven't read it yet. Here it is. Read it yourself. Yeah. But I mean,
it's not like let's start the revolution.
Yeah, get your fucking guns out. Let's go.
Look at this headline.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just
Squire
so
posted something. I think last night. It was like totally like framed toward your crowd, and I liked it because it was like. I
think I seen it.
And then somebody like commented on it like, "Jesus Christ, man!"
This was 1993 or something like that, right? Yeah, I seen that. I didn't get into it. I didn't get to read it, but that's the thing, man. And like I said, man, I am not afraid to call bullshit on people that are fucking pro Second Amendment or on my side on anything either. And you got to be that way, dude.
I told you I got banned from that court. No, I don't think I've talked to you yet.
No.
I got banned from that one fuck Trump website that I always post shit. Like I always retweeted it. I think it was like things Trump supporters say or something like that. But somebody posted something, and he's kind of a little bitch, whoever the fuck the guy is. Yeah. But he's always like posts these like real emotional, like he gets hate mail from so many people or whatever the fuck.
Oh, is that fuck, you told me about him earlier. Is that one you're talking about?
I don't know. I don't think we've talked about this yet. But someone commented, he always says, are you still happy? Like he always talks shit on the people that voted for, not Johnson, but what was it, Democrats, like the third party Democrat option that was like, it siphoned votes off of
I feel like I want to say Jill Stein. But
Stein, yes.
Was it?
Stein voters.
I feel like she's been like the third party for like 50 years though, right?
I don't know. This was the first time I was aware of her. But,
I feel like she's been around for a while, but I could be wrong.
He always finishes up his post with Stein voters, do you feel stupid yet? Because like, look, we could have avoided all of this had you not just fucking voted for a third party. Yeah. But
vote away.
Yeah, right. That total like party line point of view, which I kind of can't stand either. But somebody posted this video of Hillary saying it was in like response to Bernie, and she was like, I have they were asking her, do you think that you will adopt some of his policies as your platform moves forward to challenge whoever the Republicans nominate as their candidate? And she was pretty much saying, fuck the Bernie Sanders ideology. It was like, I have 5 million votes and he has 3 million votes, and that's because more people agree with me than agree with him. And it was just this real arrogant, just fucking cunt thing to say. And I was like, wow, that shit didn't age well. What an arrogant cunt. And he blocked me and deleted me and banned me from the fucking page.
That's what kills me, man. It's like,
when it absolutely was that. Like, I mean, that's the reality of it. Like, whether you liked her or not, that was an arrogant cunt clip of her. Dude. Like, that's an accurate description of her fucking behavior there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether you want to admit it or not. Maybe she's wonderful all the other time, but go ahead.
That's the thing about it is, like, we live in this world where, like, everybody's offended by everything, and you can't say anything. And we grew up sticks and stones, man. Like, here's my philosophy.
Less so than the generation before us.
Yeah, but here's my thing. Like, I say this all the time. If you don't want to be called a dumbass, don't say dumbass things.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be called, a fucking idiot, don't do idiot things. Like, it's that simple, man. Like, we got to stop giving words so much fucking power. Like, idiot is... all it is a fucking description or, of what you are at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, that pisses me off so much when people get so sensitive. Like, if I do something dumb, man, tell me I did something fucking dumb.
Right.
Don't hold back. That's how we learn. That's how we progress. That's how we fucking evolve. You know what I mean? Like,
I absolutely agree with you.
If you go through life doing
I don't know that
shit,
there's anybody not arguing for that.
There is, though. That's the thing, man. Like people are so sensitive about it. Like, they really are. Like,
people are upset about, like, if you're criticizing people for shit that they can't choose. But if a transgender man fucking like opens the door the wrong way, no one's like, oh, you can't make fun of her for opening the door wrong, for pushing on a pool door, for being a fucking moron in the moment. I don't know. Maybe, I guess that there are those small. I just think that there's a small percentage of people. There are people, you're right, that are like, oh, you're being transphobic because that dumb cunt opened the door into her own face and that was a mistake. You shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. There's no reason we can't make fun of you for doing that. I'm not going to make fun of you for whatever the fuck you know what I mean, chose to do to your genitals. But said, like, I can make everybody can open the door in their own face. You can make fun of anybody for that. If a black dude does that, you can make fun of him too.
Yeah, right. But like you said though, you made a very good point about that. It's like, okay, somebody that's like mentally challenged or something. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to make
retarded.
Then you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Now, and don't get me wrong, there, like, because I'm into like dark humor and fucking ignorant shit that you shouldn't say. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Not to their face.
Yeah, but you're exactly, man. But I don't know, man. I'm like a fucking dog eat dog world kind of fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I enjoy stupid shit like that, you know, like the fucking Michael J. Fox memes and shit, dude. I fucking...
Poor taste.
Dude, but I laugh my fucking ass off. So if it makes me happy, you know, live and let live, right?
Right. Right.
You know, as long as I'm not going up to Michael J. Fox and say, hey, man, want to shake my hand? You know what I mean? Like...
There's a line there for me where it's like enjoying it personally versus resharing it. Like... Yeah. I don't know if that even makes any sense, but like if you're the type of person where you kind of chuckle to yourself and you're like, that's kind of funny, but I understand that that's
but you're not sitting there fucking 5 feet away.
That's not something I need to embrace. Like that's not a positive point of my, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's laughing at that. That's a negative part of me. Like, you can acknowledge it and laugh at it and have that moment to yourself, but understand in the grand scheme of things, that's not something that you want to like. Share with the world.
I have the key to it, man.
Okay.
As long as it's not malicious intent. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Like.
I agree with that.
Like if you're not like, oh, that fucking retard.
Yeah, and fuck this guy. I agree. I agree 100%.
Like, and I always see people like, if that was your family, you wouldn't do that. Bullshit, motherfucker. You don't know me then. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if I find something funny, I'm fucking laughing, man.
Right, and even if it was my family, and I might well say, no, you're right, I wouldn't share it if it was my family, but I could absolutely acknowledge the fact that other people would want to share it if it wasn't their fucking family. Like, it could be funny to other people.
Absolutely.
I could acknowledge the humor in the situation, even though I don't find it funny personally. Like,
it's like the fucking Bare Naked Ladies song. What the fuck's he saying? I laugh at funerals and I know I shouldn't, or something like that. You know the song I'm talking about?
I don't know, man.
Fuck, that's an old song. But, you know, regardless, he says about laughing at funerals. Like, people do things different ways, man. Like, you know, my grandpa died.
There's not enough room for that in our society. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, people have different coping mechanisms, and absolutely. I think that's where you're headed.
Humor is a big one. Like,
and, you know, things are so like pushed to the fringes, and things are like, hey, this is how you should dress at a funeral. This is how you should act, and if you don't act this way, then you aren't mourning correctly. Like you're not. You know what I mean? What is it? Mourning is you're missing this person, and you're not like prescribing to the socially acceptable way to miss a person that just died. Like,
and it goes back.
It's to so
human
weird.
Nature again, like. And I'm really guilty of that too. Like if somebody their grandmother died, and like 2 years later they're still sulking and fucking like their life is a mess because they're still sulking about it. And I'm guilty of saying, dude, suck it up, get the fuck over it. You know what I mean? I think that's human nature. Like,
it's funny how there are like relative areas like of like acceptable. You know what I mean? You lose a grandparent. Everyone loses grandparents. Yeah. You can be upset about that for 3 months, for 4 months, for 6 months.
But if you go 7 months,
3 years from now, if you're so upset that your grandpa died at 87, man, like, come on, man.
Dude lived a good life. 87 years old, you know.
He enjoyed it. He had a good run, man. Lots of people don't make it out of 40s. Like,
goes back to fucking subjective again, man. We keep fucking using that word quite a bit tonight, but it really is, man. And that's where I get like, believe it or not, I'm looking around, make sure none of my fucking righty friends are around. But I get really liberal on that too. Like, man, live and let live, dude.
yeah.
Do your fucking
If it's
thing.
not affecting me, I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck.
All right, thanks for listening, fuckers. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, this is going to be somewhat of a series over the next couple of weeks of the 5 hours that we recorded. So if you're interested, please tune in next week. Also, if you have time, please like and share the Facebook page. Thank you. Have a good night, guys.